What's up, Cancer? This is Jesse with 44 Astro with a new moon solar eclipse tarot reading for the new moon coming up on April 8th, 2024. It's going to be at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be at 19 degrees Aries, which will put it in the second mansion of the moon. This mansion is all about being confident, but it's auspicious, and it's about conflict, but it's about resolving conflict. Ooh, that was the card right there. Now, solar eclipse in astrology, solar eclipse in general. So you have to understand what solar eclipse represent and the astrology around it. So solar eclipse have to do with the blocking of the light of the sun, the death of the sun, and then the rebirth, right? And this is also taking place during the time of year where we're getting into spring, which is also why Easter happens here, which also represents death and then the rebirth. That's why it's a Christian holiday about the death and resurrection of Christ. So with this taking place here, it's very prominent, right? Also, on top of the sun and moon being exactly conjunct in 19 degrees Aries, it is also going to be exactly conjunct Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer in astrology. Not everyone acknowledges Chiron, or even many astrologers don't know at all. Chiron is the rainbow bridge, for those of us that know. Chiron's orbit is in between Uranus and Saturn. Saturn in astrology, because they all move fairly quickly, Saturn being the slowest, 30 years or so approximately to get around the sun, affect individual traits and changes within individuals because they move enough to where there's going to be a lot of variety. Those want to be on top. But with the outer planets, because they move so slowly, they represent the collective. Think of it as also, from Saturn in, as the material mundane aspects of the individual that change quite often. And the outer planets being the sacred spiritual aspects of humanity as a whole and a collective, because there aren't boundaries in spirituality because it's spirit, it's energy. So it's fully collective. And the bridge between that, the way to get through it from the mundane to the sacred, is Chiron. That's why Chiron is represented as a key in astrology, a key. If you are a Cancer ascendant, this is going to be affecting your 9th or 10th house. Your 9th house is wisdom, philosophy on life, law, justice, things like this. 10th house is going to be your vocation, your work. And because this is about death and rebirth, and then Chiron also being there, which is the connection between the mundane to the sacred, or the outer self to the inner self, there's a chance for great growth in those specific areas if you are a Cancer ascendant. Or great healing, because Chiron is the wounded healer. So the story of Chiron is a centaur that taught Ophiuchus how to heal so well that it was making people immortal. And then Hades went to Zeus and was like, there's no need for the underworld, or there's no one coming, souls aren't coming down here. So Zeus struck down Ophiuchus, and that's, the 13th sign of the zodiac. But I'm not going to go into all that. But anyway, it has to do with Chiron, who was hit by venom of the Hydra, and he was always sick, and he could not heal himself, but he could heal others. But what it really represents is being able to understand a sickness or something terrible going through your life, understanding and healing yourself, and therefore being able to heal it, help others heal it in themselves. So there could be healing or resurrections around that specific area of your life if you're a Cancer ascendant, 9th or 10th house. So your philosophy on life may be burnt to the ground and renewed, or you may adopt some sort of new wisdom or justice, or a new type of laws in your life, the way you structure it. Or your 10th house, and maybe you get a whole new job, that type of thing. Or you get a big raise, a big upgrade. And with the mansion of the moon, it's actually a good time to be asking for a raise. It's very beneficial. But overall, right now, especially like on a global scale, because everything is in Aries, the god of war, and in Pisces, we're going to see probably major shifts in the aspects of war. Like there's multiple wars going on in our world right now. So we're either going to see a healing, like a resolution, or we're going to see the opposite, which is more individuals get involved in the war. It's going to get sicker. And, that's really scary to think about. But it also could be resolutions, because Chiron is a healer. So we may, in the larger collective scale, we may see things around war that are healed, have maybe some kind of sacrifices that have to be made. And that's the aspect of Pisces. Like all the planets are in that area of the zodiac right now, pretty much all of them anyway. And so there's going to be the death and then a resurrection of a new a new Christ, the Son of God, right? It's the resurrection story. That's what's happening, and that can happen within the individuals as well. You know, our son is our heart, so it could be like a resurrection around being far more loving, or doing things through love instead of just, you know, cold logic. These types of things. But anyway, that being said, Cancer, let me get you some cards. And this is also really powerful, right? Because the moon itself this moon is happening on a Monday, which is the moon's day. And at the same time, the sun is in the second decan of Aries, which is, you know, there are 3 decans in each sign, you know, 0 to 10 degrees, 10 to 20, 20 to 30 degrees. Those are all different decans ruled by different planets. And the sun is exalted in Aries, and he's in a decan that he rules, so it's also making the sun very powerful. So the moon and the sun are very powerful right now. And the moon is a supermoon, which means it's as close to the Earth as it can get in its elliptical orbit. So we're going to feel it. So it's going to be very intense energies, and I'll expect probably some intense changes around many of our lives in some form or another. It could be that a sickness is discovered, or an ailment that you had is finally healed, those types of things. Because Chiron can represent those things, and it can also represent a healing in our world, or show us a great sickness that has to be healed. And all kinds of things have been being revealed to show us that there are a lot of sicknesses in our world that need to be healed, and that can't even be denied. And even in individuals, we all have things that maybe we press down, and this is the time that they're going to come to light. The sun is going to get blocked, right? And you're going to be forced to face your darkness. Like the world will be forced to face the darkness without the sun because the moon is blocking it. But when that sun comes back out, boom, now we have to shine on what we found in that darkness. And Chiron's a healer at an exact 0 orb conjunction with the sun and the moon, all at 19 degrees Aries, second decan of the sun. So the light is about to be shining on a lot of things that need to be healed within ourselves and in our world. Anyway, believe in the impossible, Cancer. That's always a good card. It doesn't look like you've been believing. It looks like it has something to do with work, because you have the 3 of Pentacles in the center of the reading. It could be a question about work or how you make money, or something that you've created that you're showing others. That could be on social media. It could be art. It could be all kinds of different things. Poetry, music, anything that you're creating, you're trying to show. But you feel disappointed. In some way, you are not focusing on the positive. You're looking at the spilled cups instead of the filled cups. Something has upset you, and the unconscious influence is heartbreak. Something has broken your heart. I don't know if that has to do with a relationship necessarily, but it could be something, just things happen in our lives that can be upsetting. It could be any different thing that upsets you. And it may feel like a hopeless situation, right? But it's saying believe in the impossible, which means it's not a hopeless situation. And miracles do happen, and your dreams can come true, regardless of what's going on in your life. Maybe there's some kind of move in your recent life. Recently, either you moved or maybe you left someone or some situation. This is normally going from stormy waters to calm waters, but that happened in the past, and now it seems like something has occurred that's broken your heart and upset you. Some kind of judgment was made, either against you. It could be in court, or a judgment was made about you, or you made a judgment. Okay? And it broke your heart to have to make this judgment. It definitely could have something to do with work. Like either you had to leave work, or you had to stop something that you're working on that you cared about a lot, or anything like that. But again, it could be more than that. It could be, just something that you value. Like it could have been maybe you really valued your relationship, and it's something that you, the image that kind of y'all presented out to the world together. You really were proud of that, and then in some way maybe that was shattered in some way, because you're not seeing. There's something in front of you that you're not seeing. Like I don't know if it has to do. Like these 2 cups behind you, that's one of those cups that's behind you right there. And the 5 of Cups, that's one of those cups right there that's in the air being offered to you. So I think you're so upset about something, you're not seeing something that's in front of you, either a person or a situation or an opportunity that's going to help you continue with whatever it is that you're doing. Now, hopefully it wasn't a court judgment against you, like a divorce or anything like that, or maybe even public opinion. Maybe you feel like you're on a specific side of like an issue, and that others all kind of ganged up against you on one side of the issue, and you're kind of like, and you're refusing to see their perspective. Maybe you should see their perspective a little more, or try to look at a bigger perspective, or see that maybe whatever this is that broke your heart was for the best, and it's going to help you move forward. Because it's saying believe in the impossible, which means it may feel like it's the end of the world or the end of whatever this thing is and you can't get over it, but realistically, it's the beginning of something as well. There is no ending without a beginning. Hence the eclipse, death and rebirth, right? The blocking of the light, making us face our darkness. Whatever that is has to be presented in our life in many different ways. And this may be a common occurrence for many during an eclipse like this, because we're going to have to face our darkness, our fears. We're going to have to face those types of things. The world's going to present us with situations that make us face our fears. If it's a fear of loss of someone, like a relationship, you may have to face that. If it's the fear of loss of a job, you may have to face that. But it's going to lead to bigger, better things, because there's some kind of wish that you have, but I don't think you're focusing on it, or you're not focusing on the positive in your life, because there's always good things in your life too. So I think that there's some specific event that's standing out that you're focusing on that's got you upset, and it's making you forget about what you were trying to create to begin with. And even though something may seem detrimental that happened in your life, it may just be a necessary step to get to this, and you have to go through it. And it's easy once it all goes, you get to this and it all goes, through all those stages, then you can look back on it and be like, oh, well, I had to go through that. And then you're more grateful for it. But I would try to look at it that way now. It's not necessarily easy to do, but if you do, you'd be surprised how much more positive not only your disposition will be and your demeanor, but how the reality around you responds. Because once it sees that you're just going to be in that demeanor of progression, not necessarily happy or go lucky all the time, but try to be if you can be, but just progression, it's going to show you progression around you, because that's what your inner world's reflecting. You're making progress, or you're thinking of it as progress. So progress will be what manifests. So you got to keep looking at it in that way, and don't get too tied up in the heartbreak of the situation. But in your environment, it says, there's some kind of communication coming in. Like in your environment, some kind of communication or some kind of clarity that's going to come in. So I think whatever it is, you're going to get the clear message that you need, as long as you're not too distracted with this. Because this is an unconscious influence. So it's coming from within you. The advice is just say, keep working hard. So if something was like shot down at work that you thought was going to be really successful or whatever, who cares? Don't let it get you down. Just keep working hard. If you believe that it's going to be successful, you believe it's going to be good, keep working on it. Or if someone broke your heart, or something broke your heart, and it's distracting you from being able to keep working on what you were working on, you got to try to work through it. Because whatever this is probably going to be very valuable and good for you, because it's saying believe in the impossible, and you got the 9 of Cups. So this is like your wish is coming true. More cups than you can handle. And the outcome is absolute clarity, truth. So the truth is going to come forth. So if you feel like you were wronged in the situation in some way, like maybe somebody lied to you, or you feel like they are lying about something that you were involved in, and you don't feel like you're being heard, in the end, the truth is always going to come out. Now, 3 things will long remain hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. That's what the Buddha said. And the Buddha is correct. The truth will always come out. That's why you've seen a lot of these crazy things that are conspiracy theories coming out in the world. The sun is showing us our darkness, or the moon is showing us our darkness, and the sun is shining the light on it, right? And the craziest things we thought, just conspiracy theory. We're starting to see that a lot of these things are absolutely happening and are real. I'm not going to get into them specifically, but I imagine many of you know what I'm talking about. Because the truth has to come forth, and it always will. No matter what, the truth will come forth, because truth is the way we progress. The way not necessarily what we want it to be, but what it is, right? Our jobs is to evolve and try to make it what we want it to be. But in general, it's still defined within specific parameters of what are true, or what are truth, and what is possible within these specific truths of the natural existence of reality. And it's going to be different from your linear material reality, the mundane aspects, right? As it is to the spiritual sacred. The spiritual sacred, that's unconscious energy. That's the fertile mother that everything came out of, right? And then the masculine energy is what directs it and like creates it and structures it into what we use to move forward. But that energy is more of a symbolic non-linear, no boundaries type of energy, expansive, pure creative energy, but it's not as easily directed because it's pure in its nature and it's unformed, right? It's still in its beginning nature, right? But anyway, but the truth will always come forward. Have faith in that. All right, Cancer, I'm done rambling. Please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it would motivate me to make more videos. I think Cancer was the least watched video of mine last go around, but it's random, so you know it is what it is. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I'll be very grateful if you like, subscribe, and comment. Either way, I'm just glad that you're here, and I hope to see you here again. Happy solar eclipse, Cancer.